Hello everyone, I hope that you're well today. Happy solstice weekend to you. It is the summer solstice on Tuesday, so Monday night is the shortest night, and in the northern hemisphere it's the summer solstice, so we tip back towards the winter and the darker nights, and down south in the southern hemisphere they are at the winter solstice. The sun has left the southernmost tip of our earth and it's reached the northern tip of our planet. So it's down south, they'll be heading back into summer. So it is one of the big spirit nights of the year. So Beltane would be a night when fairies and ghouls and ghosts abound. Samhain, which is Halloween, or All Hallows Eve, would be the other night. And the summer solstice, it is said that along the hedgerows and along the edges of the fields and spaces that the fairies dance. So let's do a little meditational journey to the great henge, the hanging stones of Stonehenge. And I think we do this every year, don't we, really? We go to Stonehenge because it's the most well-known circle, but of course there are many stone circles around the world. I think one of the most northern ones in the UK is the Ring of Brodka up in Shetland Isles. Or is it the Hebrides? I always get them mixed up, but it's up there north of Scotland. So they will virtually have a whole day. It doesn't get so dark there. Okay. Let's start to ground, and I want you to feel this fossil, making you a little bit heavier, bringing its Fibonacci balance properties into you as you settle down. Taking a breath in and breathing out all of that stress. Breathing out all of that busyness that you do all week. And really starting to become still. Getting yourself really comfortable if you're not comfortable. Just grounding into the earth, the place you have come from. I want you just to imagine a fire at the center of your being. And I want you to glow and grow that flame, pushing it out of you, pushing it to each side, glowing and growing it, pushing it to the front and the back of you, glowing and growing it, and pushing it upwards and downwards until it creates a ball of orange and yellow fire energy. I want you to imagine that we are on a coach bound for Wiltshire. And we get out in the car park and immediately you start to see the hedgerows, and I'd like you to go and collect some elderflowers. Some of them may even be turning into the elderberries already. You spy some vervain and some yarrow, and you just go and pick a couple of sprigs, and these are going to be thrown onto the fire later as wishes. You can also spy some little seedlings and the yellow star-like flowers of the St. John's wort. And it is a blessed plant to the Welsh. So you put them into a little cloth bag that you have. And you start to walk out of the car park and along a long processional grass avenue. There are fences either side, but it is wide, and you can just see the stones in front of you. So I want you also to take another breath in, and with each step just feel your roots growing out as you walk towards the stones. And there are lots of other people with us. There are families with picnic baskets, witches, druids, curious people, because we are going to an open ritual. Some of them are dressed in modern clothes, but others are dressed very strangely to our eyes. They might have brooches here and here. They might have the druid robes on, or other ritual clothing. Or they might just be in old peasant garb, skins, furs, woven blankets, a mixture of spirits of the place and of people from our era. All will join together at the midsummer. And as you walk down this processional avenue, I'd like you to think what it is you're going to get rid of. And I'm going to hold this wooden pendulum, a Thoth or a Tahuti pendulum modelled on one from the Egyptian tombs, and we're going to clear you. And it's just going to spin, and I want you to think of those things you no longer need. Have a little think over the last 6 months. Has something happened that you perhaps are not proud of? Maybe the way you spoke to someone, the way you reacted. Someone who was perhaps not so gracious to you. If that is stuck on you, I want the pendulum just to clear it. And try and clear any anger and any pain, because it just bogs you down. It doesn't serve you to be angry. Maybe for a little bit, but shed it as you walk down the avenue. And breathe in. Suddenly a load of children run past, scampering and laughing and shouting. And you realise that there is so much to look forward to. The rest of the summer and the winter. Some of you may enjoy the winter. Each season has its merits. But for now, we have a couple of months in the southern hemisphere of warmth, of light, and good times ahead. Doing a lot of clearing this pendulum. So as we start to get closer to the stones, the evening light changes. It is now about 9:45. There are already lots of people here. But this year it'll be quiet. You can actually get into the stones this year. But before you reach the stone circle proper, it's slowing down now, the pendulum. You have to walk past the heel stone. Out on its own, a heel stone is a stone, it's like a magnet, it holds the circle in place. And this is made of Preseli blue stone. It is cut from the same quarry of the inner ring of stones in Stonehenge, the blue stones they are. So as you walk past this heel stone of this ephemi that I'm holding up, side down, and yes, I know I pronounce it wrong, it's just one of those words I can't get. As you step past it, you feel a shift. As you head into hallowed ground. And I'm just going to use this this is what I call the male Stonehenge knife. It is larger than my other one. I'm just going to cut some of those things that you freed as you walked down. Cut them away from you. Cutting it off your back so that it doesn't weigh you down. Take another breath in from each side and release. And by now you have reached the hanging stones, the great henge. And you walk through one of the triathlons. Let's knock the mistletoe off. And there is a nice space at the bottom of one of them for you to spread out your picnic blanket. And maybe you want to take out your drum and join in the revelry. Maybe you have another instrument that you wish. And just now, as you're settling down, two giants of leaves walk in. The Oak King, who is just about to hand the year over to the Holly King. They walk over to you, these green men, one light yolk and one dark holly. And the Oak King points to the fire in the middle, and he says, what do you wish to cast into this fire? And you tell him 3 things. And he tells you to pick some of the herbs out of your bag, 3 of them, and to walk over and cast your herbs on the fire. And as he does this, he draws the dewey, the oak symbol, down your back, from the top of your spine to the base of your spine, imprinting all of the properties of the oak: strength, standing, fortitude, shelter, because you shelter lots of little creatures within the oak. And then the wispy smoke is blown back onto you. You smell the sweet fragrance or the bitter fragrance of the herbs, depending on what you threw. You walk back. And now the Holly King steps forward. And he asks you, what would you like to bring in for the next 6 months? 3 things, wishes for you to throw onto the fire. So you take out 3 other herbs. And you walk towards that fire again. And you cast the first wish with your herb. And you cast the second with your herb. And you cast the third with your herb. And again, it crackles. And the sweet and bitter fragrances over you. And he draws the taina across your back. And the holly stands for protection. It also fruits for birds to eat the blossom, the berries. I'm getting all my words muddled up. And it shines brightly at a year when all is dark. You then go back to your picnic blanket and you sit yourself down. And you pour the mead. And these are from a lady and gentleman in Wales. I will put the details in the show notes. And you pour a little thimbleful into your cup. You don't need very much. And this is an Arwen symbol. Revelry or Arwen. And it stands for the 3 drops of Ceridwen's cauldron, which bring the rays of inspiration down. And you can stand like this. At noon on the solstice, that is the ray of sunlight from pole to pole, and then with your hands, they equal the equinoxes. So kind of like a Vitruvian man with your arms down towards the earth. And you can have a look at the exact time of the solstice and stand like that. But for now, you will save that for the morning. The sun is starting to drop. And you take your sip. And you take another sip. Feeling it start to warm your heart of the sweet honey mead, gathered in Wales, with all the little buzzy bees from the community. And just remember that you, no matter how insular you are these days, because a lot of us have become more insular, you are still part of a community. And just watch this community around you. And your community might even just be online, and that's all right. Just make sure you join in when you see one of these events happening. Join in live if you can. And this is perhaps what I'm going to start doing as well this year. Doing a few more lives. Joining in with our community in whichever way we can, because even though we are our own person, we are part of a whole. And now that sun sinks and the merriment begins. The drums beat louder, the people sing more raucous, and the night's revelries will occur. You see the moon rising, and it rises quite late because now in 2022 it is waning, and is up for a shorter amount of time through the night. But take that breath in and breathe out and sit down with your back against the stone. And know that your wishes and your cleansings have been thrown into the fire. And that tomorrow at 12 o'clock, the Holly King and the Oak King will have their ritual fight. And the Holly King will win over the Oak King. And the giant with dark leaves will rule the rest of the year. Until in exactly 6 months' time, at the winter solstice, the Oak King wins out. Now we're just going to ground this healing in this meditation and visualization into you. You have about 6 to 7 hours of darkness, something like that. And then in the morning, you will see the sun rise through the triathlon. Now, if any of you have your mistletoe from Christmas still, this will be burnt on the solstice. This is my winter sprig. And I will pop this into this bowl and take it outside and burn at noon on the solstice. And I do believe that some healers will be picking it at this time of year because this was called All Heal. So just think of the fertility that the mistletoe will bring in. And if you have any projects that you're trying to get off the ground, I want you just to feel and imagine yourself doing those in 6 months' time. And feel and call in the mistletoe to help bring that to fruition. And know that in 6 months the beautiful little white berries will be ready and ripe for picking for the winter solstice. So breathe in and just let the scene fade away. As you relax. And then when you're ready, you can start to wiggle your fingers and your toes and bring yourself back to this solstice of 2022. But incidentally, this solstice video will work on any solstice, any summer solstice for you. See you next time. From Stonehenge, goodbye.